Imagine being the CEO of one of the world's most valuable AI companies and having to tweet to the entire world, "We're out of GPUs. Not running low, not experiencing delays, completely out." That's exactly what happened to OpenAI's Sam Altman in February 2025, and it sparked one of the most fascinating tech scrambles we've ever seen, including the wild twist where they started renting computer chips from their biggest competitor. If you're here for the absolute chaos of watching tech giants throw their pride out the window in the name of survival, smash that subscribe button right now, because today's story is a masterclass in corporate desperation and the lengths companies will go to when they're backed into a corner. Welcome to OpenAI's great computing power scramble of 2025, where the company that's supposed to be revolutionizing everything had to go hat in hand to their biggest rivals just to keep the lights on. And honestly, it's beautiful. So here's the thing about OpenAI. They built ChatGPT, right? 500 million people using it every week, 20 million paying subscribers, adding 1 million new users every hour during peak times. But here's the issue. Success in AI isn't just about having smart algorithms. It's about having enough computing power to actually run those algorithms. And OpenAI, in all their brilliant planning, managed to build the most popular AI service on Earth while somehow forgetting to secure enough computers to run it. The scale of this screw-up is just insane. They needed tens of thousands more GPUs just to roll out GPT 4.5 to their Plus subscribers. Features got delayed, new releases got staggered, and suddenly the company that's supposed to represent the future of technology was rationing access to their own services like it's wartime. Instead of just waiting around for more chips like a normal company, OpenAI decided to get creative. And by creative, I mean they started calling every single one of their competitors asking for help. The audacity is honestly impressive. Enter AMD. For years, AMD has been the underdog trying to break NVIDIA's stranglehold on AI computing. They've got solid products, competitive prices, but they're still playing second fiddle to NVIDIA's 80% market dominance. Then suddenly Sam Altman shows up at their conference in June 2025 to save them. And the partnership isn't just OpenAI buying some AMD chips and calling it a day. Oh no, it's way more strategic than that. OpenAI is now an early design partner for AMD's MI450 series. They're literally helping AMD engineer the future of AI computing. The technical specs are actually pretty impressive, which somehow makes NVIDIA's supply shortage even more embarrassing. AMD's MI350 series offers 4 times more compute power than the previous generation, with 288 GB of memory compared to NVIDIA's 192 gigabytes. That extra memory is huge for running these massive language models. It's like having a bigger workspace where your AI can think. The cost savings? AMD's setup can save you about 40% compared to NVIDIA's equivalent. When you're burning through billions in compute costs like OpenAI is, 40% savings isn't just nice. It's the difference between profit and bankruptcy. AMD's chips run about $0.0015 per token compared to NVIDIA's $0.002. That might not sound like much, but when you're processing billions of queries, those fractions add up fast. OpenAI's already been using AMD's MI300 series on Microsoft Azure for inference since 2024. That's the part where the AI actually responds to users, not the training part. And apparently it's been working so well that they're doubling down with the upcoming MI400 series, which is scheduled for 2026 and promises 432 gigabytes of HBM4 memory. That's 50% more memory capacity than the competition. The timeline here is telling. Partnership announced in June 2025. MI350X and MI355X already in production, MI400 series coming in 2026. OpenAI went from, "We're out of GPUs," to, "We're co-designing the future of AI chips," in a matter of months. Most companies take years to diversify their supply chains. OpenAI did it faster than most people change jobs. The AMD partnership isn't even the most shocking part of this story. That honor goes to the Google plot twist. This is where it actually gets bonkers. OpenAI building ChatGPT to directly compete with Google, renting Google's own TPUs, tensor processing units, Google's custom AI chips. Google said yes. Because apparently when you're desperate enough, even rivals become temporary business partners. On June 2025, OpenAI recently began renting Google's artificial intelligence chips, specifically Google's V6E Trillium TPUs, to power ChatGPT and other products. This marks the first time OpenAI has meaningfully used non-NVIDIA silicon at scale. The move was driven by soaring inference demand and costs, because running AI models for millions of users is stupidly expensive. Google's TPUs are fascinating pieces of technology. They've been perfecting them for a decade, designed specifically for machine learning tasks. The V6E Trillium generation offers up to 2.5x more throughput per dollar than previous versions, and they're optimized for inference, the part where AI actually responds to users. Since inference eats up half of OpenAI's $40 billion compute budget, every bit of cost savings matters. But Google isn't completely stupid. They're not giving OpenAI their best chips. Those top-tier TPUs are reserved for their own Gemini models. Still, even Google's older generation TPUs are apparently better than what OpenAI could get elsewhere, which tells you just how desperate the situation has become. TPUs are purpose-built for AI inference, offering better cost performance than general-purpose GPUs for serving responses to users. Google's been running their own AI services on TPUs for years, so they've got the infrastructure and expertise. OpenAI gets cheaper compute. Google gets revenue from their competitor. It's win-win for both. The partnership lets OpenAI shift some load off Microsoft's Azure, their primary cloud provider, while accessing Google's specialized AI infrastructure. But the optics? The optics are absolutely magnificent. What makes this even more delicious is the context. Google and OpenAI are in a full-scale AI arms race. Google's rushing to catch up to ChatGPT with their Gemini models, while OpenAI's trying to maintain their lead. The economics make sense, though. Google's got massive TPU capacity that they're not fully utilizing. OpenAI's got massive demand and not enough compute. It's basic supply and demand, except the supplier and buyer are mortal enemies. The fact that this deal exists shows just how constrained the AI compute market has become. And the broader implications? This is reshaping the entire AI infrastructure landscape. AMD's getting real validation and investment. Google's monetizing their AI infrastructure beyond their own services. Even Intel's pushing their Gaudi processors at 50% cheaper than NVIDIA's H100s, trying to grab market share. The NVIDIA monopoly is cracking, and everyone's scrambling to grab pieces. The energy implications here are staggering too. OpenAI's compute demands are so massive that they're planning 4.5 gigawatts of data center capacity through their Stargate project. That's enough electricity to power millions of homes. Google's TPUs are more energy efficient than traditional GPUs, so this partnership actually makes environmental sense, even if it makes zero competitive sense. The geopolitical implications are equally bonkers. The US has export controls on advanced chips to China, turning semiconductors into a national security issue. Countries are starting to view AI compute capacity the same way they view oil reserves or military assets. When OpenAI's this desperate for chips, it creates vulnerabilities that governments are definitely tracking. Meanwhile, the broader market is adapting in real time. Meta's building their own chips. Even Apple and Anthropic are jumping on Google's TPU bandwagon. It's like watching a carefully orchestrated monopoly collapse in slow motion. The software ecosystem is scrambling too. NVIDIA's CUDA has been the standard for so long that switching to AMD or Intel requires rewriting massive amounts of code. It's like the entire AI industry built their houses on NVIDIA's foundation, and now they're trying to renovate while still living in them. What's really happening here is a fundamental shift in how we think about AI infrastructure. The old model, rely on one supplier, scale up gradually, is dead. Diversify everything, build your own chips, make friends with your enemies, and consume enough electricity to power small countries. The timeline for this transformation is compressed beyond belief. OpenAI went from no GPUs in February to partnerships with AMD and Google by June. Most companies take years to execute strategic pivots like this. OpenAI did it in months, driven by pure desperation and the kind of move fast and break things mentality that Silicon Valley loves. It's not just about having the best AI models anymore, it's about having the compute to run them, the energy to power them, and the supply chains to sustain them. The competitive dynamics are fascinating. NVIDIA's still the king. Their Blackwell series is unmatched in performance, but supply constraints are forcing their biggest customers to seek alternatives. AMD is getting real market share for the first time in years. Google's turning their internal AI infrastructure into a business. Intel's pushing back into AI with aggressive pricing. Everyone wants to build the next breakthrough model, but nobody wants to invest in the unglamorous infrastructure needed to actually run it. OpenAI built ChatGPT and then discovered they couldn't afford to operate it at scale. The irony is beautiful. We're building artificial intelligence to solve the world's problems, but we can't solve the basic problem of having enough computers to run it. The companies that are supposed to represent the future of technology are constrained by the same supply chain issues that affect every other industry. But maybe that's exactly what needed to happen. Maybe NVIDIA's monopoly needed to be challenged. Maybe these desperate partnerships needed to form. Maybe the AI industry needed to learn that success isn't just about having the best algorithms. It's about having the infrastructure to scale them. The next few years are going to be absolutely wild. Will AMD's chips actually compete with NVIDIA's performance? Will Google regret helping their biggest competitor? Will OpenAI's custom chips make them independent of external suppliers? And most importantly, will our power grids survive the AI revolution? It's not just about software anymore. It's about the physical infrastructure, the supply chains, the energy consumption, and the willingness to work with your rivals. So there you have it. OpenAI's beautiful, chaotic, absolutely desperate scramble for computing power. A masterclass in corporate pragmatism, strategic partnerships, and the kind of irony that makes you question whether we're living in a simulation designed by someone with a twisted sense of humor. If you enjoyed watching this train wreck unfold in real time, Hit that subscribe button and notification bell because this story is far from over. The AI infrastructure wars are just getting started, and the next chapter is going to be even more ridiculous than this one. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the absolute chaos of cutting-edge technology, and I'll see you in the next one.